So let's get into this. Enough of this BSing around. You came here for info. So let's talk about some of that info. I want to talk about getting on a TEDx stage. And so, in order to do that, let's kind of demystify why that even matters because dang it if there aren't a lot of people that want to get on a TEDx stage. It's like a required bucket list item at this point. So, I've technically been only on one TEDx stage. I've just done it 4 times. So, that's an interesting way to look at it. They've all been different stages, but, same event. So, I don't know if that even counts. That said, why was it intriguing to me? Well, back in 2009, when I did the first one, it was because I like speaking. And the whole reason I said, yeah, let's produce this event was it was an avenue to speak. I didn't know, right? I had no idea who Ted was at that time. And fun fact, people, there's no Ted. There's 0 people named Ted that have anything to do with the idea of TED. Acronym: technology, entertainment, design. The 3 areas that really drive innovation. The first TED event wasn't even really called that, but it was a dinner in 1984 in California. Um, and then it grew from that dinner of some interesting people having some interesting conversation to becoming an annual event in 1990. So we're looking in the way back machine, man. We're 33 years ago. TED's been going on every year since 1990. And then in 2006, in their infinite wisdom, there being Ted and the team, they put some of those videos on this little platform called YouTube. Uh, who knew that YouTube was going to have the impact it did on our world? And yet here we are, 17 years later. Even that stuff's old enough to drive. In 2009, they wanted to make sure that more people were able to experience TED. So they opened up the X. And so the X really stood for, and it even says so right here, independently organized TED event. They've dropped that in the last year as part of their rebrand. I don't know if it has any significance now, but that's what it meant. Like literally, you have an X, that means you produce the event. You pick the venue, you pick the team, you get the sponsors, you pick the speakers. The only things that you have to do is follow a handful of rules to support their license, which by the way is free. So if you're like, I want to speak on a TED event, organize a TED event, huh? How about that? Idea, free one for you. It's free, right? You got to come up with a name, you got to come up with the team, you got to come up with the venue. You could have a real small one, and it could be real inexpensive, or you could have some grandiose one and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on it. That is your choice. Um, but because of this availability, all of a sudden they went from having like the big TED conference, a TED Ed conference, maybe a TED Women conference, and maybe a TED Med conference. All these things, most of them don't even exist anymore, to having literally between 3,000 and 4,000 events every single year. The X means that there are events in like somewhere between 150 and 170 countries every single year. 150 countries, 3,000, 3,500, 4,000 events per year. So, yeah, there's crazy opportunity to get on stage. Now, not all TEDx events are created equal. Some are big, right? 1,500, 2,500, 10,500 people. I'm still coming for that record, damn it. That was in Buenos Aires, Argentina, back in 2014. 10,500 people. TEDx Detroit, the largest one we had, was about 3,800. So big. Others are like in a dorm room, 4 people, maybe 5 if they didn't bring chips. So, not all events are created equal. Not all events have live speakers. Some are just viewing parties. So when you're thinking about I want to speak and you're looking at the where you can speak, you have to understand the purpose of the event. So there's a tip for you. Figure out the organizer, who's putting it on, make some friends. How do you do that? Well, that's a little different conversation. Happy to have that though at some point if you'd like. Um, so if there's 3,000 events per year in 150 countries, I'll tell you what, just locally in the state of Michigan in the United States, there's about 16 to 18 events per year in Michigan. So there's ample opportunity for you to get on stage. You just gotta kind of do the work. So, a couple other things. The reason why people get so excited about the opportunity to do a TED talk, I think, is because bam, instant credibility, right? You are now officially a thought leader. They might as well just hand you a certificate that says thought leader, right? Level unlocked. Here it is. It's you. Let's go. And that's pretty cool. So it's the credibility factor, but it's also the opportunity to leverage the video that you get to gain new opportunities, whether they're speaking or client or coaching or whatever. It's to build that brand, right? Again, that instant thought leader credibility shows up. People are like, "Ooh, TED speaker must be important." I've got friends, two-time TED speaker, right? People put it on their LinkedIn profile. I have dozens of speaker friends. And every year, like literally the next day on LinkedIn, man, their profile changes. It is now TEDx speaker and whatever else they were doing. It's pretty wild. So why? Because some of those talks catch fire. And what I mean by fire is they go viral. Do you know that the number one talk on TED's channels has 75 million views? Yeah, that's right. 75 million views. That's like, more than most countries. So that's pretty cool. Interestingly enough, Brene Brown and Simon Sinek, two exceedingly popular talks, both have 63 million views. 63 million. They're like within 112,000 views of each other. Random and interesting simultaneously. Um, and then so TED proper, like the TED YouTube channel, they've got 23 and a half million subscribers on that channel. 23 and a half million. And then the TEDx channel has 39 and a half million. So it's pretty crazy to think about how just how much reach that actually equates to. And so ultimately, they're generating well over 3 billion views on TED content a year. So, all right, crazy. So there's the why, right? Simon Sinek, start with why. Why? Because you want to be perceived as a badass. That's why. And this gives you the opportunity to do that, right? Nothing greater, more badassery than standing on the stage giving a TED talk. Even if you kind of quasi pass out during it. I'll talk to speakers after the event. They're like, "How'd I do?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? How'd you feel like you did?" And it's like, "I don't know. I blacked out." And that's real, man. People do. But they all seem to get through. So, what do you need to get on a TED stage, a TEDx stage? Well, first and foremost, you need an idea worth spreading. You probably have like, I don't know, 23 of those. So, do you? Or do you have one that's crystal clear and solid? Or do you have an amalgamation where you're not really sure which one to do? Because that's really, really common. So get that idea, get it crystal clear, get it nailed down, and actually rock that idea. Here's the thing. You don't need to be the best speaker who applies. In fact, oftentimes TED organizers We want to make sure the person is not going to pass out during the middle of the event, right? They can't drop on stage, but they don't need to be the most polished, the most professional, the most persuasive speaker there is. They don't need to have that 3P alliteration in a sentence to get on that stage. What they need to do is be good and an expert at what they do, to be known for who they are and what they do, right? Maybe it's some level of celebrity, but maybe it's some of that top shelf person in your industry stuff, and you can bring that magic. So that's important. Different events have different themes. So you want to make sure you match the theme of the event, right? So if you're talking about joy and happiness and the event theme is sorrow and despair, it's incongruent. So you got to check and make sure that that's really something that's going on. Find the production team, meet them, right? They're the ones that are going to be able to get you in. This is the same advice I give to job seekers. If you can connect with somebody who works at the company you want to work with, as opposed to sliding your application through the application tracking system, your stuff is going to be seen by a person, not a computer. That always helps. So you want to definitely figure that out. Connect with the curator, right? Figure out who's actually the one pulling all the strings, because if you can do that, that's going to help you quite a bit. I love this idea about have a big following, right? And tell them you'll actively promote the event. Here's the thing about TEDx events, people. Number one, the people putting the event on make bupkis, all volunteers, $0, nothing but love and energy for the idea of spreading ideas, for the hope, for the inspiration, for the opportunity to connect people in the community. All of those things drive the production team, not dollars, right? So their goal is to put on the best event they possibly can. Now, you cannot sponsor the event and get on stage. That's against the rules, but you could bring in a sponsor and help some of the production cost and maybe get on stage. It's a little dicey, but it's not the worst thing that's ever happened. But you can also just say you'll support the event, you'll share the event, you'll get people to attend the event, because ultimately producers want good content on stage and butts in seats to see it and to not lose their butt while they're doing it. Those are the three things that drive the production team. I don't want to go in hock or have to sleep on the couch because I screwed up and blew all our finances on this event. I don't want to have a bunch of shitty content and people that are jerks getting up and speaking. And I don't want an empty theater. That's it. Pretty straightforward, right? So figure out how to help those things out. And the one last thing that I will tell you is important is you want to nail this application. You've got to actually get it in and get it done and have it be sweet, right? You're going to apply to an event, especially a larger event. There may be 2, 3, 400 applications there. How are you going to stand out? How are you going to separate yourself? How are you going to make yours look like magic? These are all good questions. These are things that I answer in this coaching program. That's either a group coaching program where you get together with a handful of other folks, or some one-on-one coaching programs. In the description of this video, you'll see a link. That link will talk to you about the actual program itself, and then it'll split out the 2 different directions. You can choose those. In the meantime, I will tell you this. You want to make sure that you nail that application and understand how to do it. You want to make sure that you understand if you're the right fit for the TEDx event that you're applying for. So knowing that theme, stalk these people, man. Stalk them kindly, politely, not weirdly. I'm not into weird stalking. I'm into cool, casual, comfortable stalking. You dig? So do that, right? Again, reaching out to folks that are involved in an event. They want you to reach out. They do. They want to hear from you. They want to hear from you if you love it, if you dislike it. Maybe they like that one a little less. but they want to meet people in the community. They do this for their love of community. So you enabling that and winding yourself into their little world, for the most part, for the very, very most part, I can't speak for everybody. I am not everybody, but for the most part, will be highly welcome. All right, y'all. My name is Terry Bean. I am here to help you get better at life, get better at business, and most importantly, get better at relationships with the people you need to, and most importantly, yourself. I use the words most importantly twice in a sentence. What do you think of that? It's most important. Anyway, that sucked. It is what it is. It's late at 10. I'll look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. If I can ever be of some service, look me up, trybean.com, and do take a look at this TEDx coaching program. If you're interested in owning that red dot, I can help you. I'll see you very soon. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Cheerio.